Welcome to Pick a Card, Any Card.
Where we pick a card
Any card.
and play it on curve.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Devin.
Today's cards are Athreos, God of Passage.
And Comeuppance.
Get yours.
Are you dead? Do you need a way back? Well, let me tell you. For a small price of some clay.
It's not, and you don't even have to pay the price.
Or refusing to pay have a friend of yours not pay 3 life. You can bring yourself back from the dead.
If your friends are cheapskates, you never have to die.
Yeah, I mean, like, if they're your friends, you would think they wouldn't pay 3 life to make sure you stay dead.
Sometimes coming back from the dead is worse than going there to begin with.
That is true, but if someone walked up to me and said, hey, give me $20 or Colby is going to come back from the grave, I'd be like, go away. And then I wouldn't give them money, because why would I give them money? No, go away. And then my friend's alive now, I guess. Yay?
I mean, he wasn't dead for very long.
Like, I would never pay money to keep my friends dead unless they wanted that for...
Don't let me come back.
Oh, I would. I don't hear this.
You just get to the river and then you get back.
That is true.
It's not a very good story.
That is true. Got this river, big-ass guy with a big-ass boat.
So Athreos
looked at me and just said, get out.
Athreos, God of Passage, is 3 mana, 1 generic, 1 white, and 1 black for a legendary enchantment creature, God.
That's a lot of words you just said there.
It's a lot of creature
It's almost
types.
as bad as legendary artifact, legendary enchantment artifact. What is it? Is that all Whip of Erebos has?
I thought it might have some type of whip, but I don't think so.
I highly doubt it has some type of whip.
That would just be obnoxious. So, like all the other gods, indestructible, not a creature unless your devotion to white and black is less than 7. Athreos' ability, though, is whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. Which just lends itself to all sorts of creative
tomfoolery.
Yes.
There's a reason why the term recursion is a very, very popular term in Magic.
Well, it's because it's so much fun.
And it's also really good.
Well, yes. But aside from that, it's also fun.
It is fun. So I actually mentioned Athreos quite a bit in the Shadowborn Apostle episode.
I feel like we've mentioned him in a few different episodes.
I think we mentioned him like once, maybe twice before, other than Shadowborn Apostle.
But
like if you're running a creature and you're in black and white and you want your creatures back, then run Athreos.
I mean, I run him in a black-white warrior deck, which I think is incredibly appropriate.
It makes sense. Mechanically speaking for the deck, I'm like, I assume it's an aggro-y deck.
Yes.
And like, you want your creatures back.
And I want to have my opponents take as much pain as possible.
That's true. And he's a 5/4 for 3 mana.
But
5/4 indestructible for 3 mana.
What's important and why it's appropriate is because of flavor. Warriors die, and if he does not let them pass, they get to live to fight another day.
That is true, but like that can be said about literally any creature type.
Yes, but
anteaters die, and if he doesn't let them pass, they live to eat ants another day.
It's a little bit more in flavor with
a little bit more. I'll give you that.
It's
not a lot more.
It's a little bit more in flavor with Athreos himself, who was based on a Greek god. Well, not god, a Greek mythological figure. In Greeks, we know Greeks prized their warriors. So
that is true.
Athreos is based on Karen or Sharon. I think it's a hard K.
I think it's Sharon, but I may be wrong.
There's another spelling that's KH, so I'm not quite sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, Greek.
Like, the CH in Greek is just all over the place.
Anyway, Karen was the ferryman who carried the dead across the river Styx. Of course, he charged an obol, which was a small unit of measurements, like a penny. And if people did not put an obol in your mouth when you died, or shortly after you died, you could not pay the fee to get across the river Styx to get to the underworld. And then legend has it you basically had to wander the banks of the river Styx for 100 years.
No, if memory serves, you were thrown in the river of Styx.
Okay, it could be either.
I do believe a river of boiling blood. At least in Dante's Inferno, I think that's how it worked.
I did read at some point that you had to wander the banks for 100 years. So there's probably various variations of this legend.
Maybe.
So, Athreos does sort of look like he's chilling in something acidic looking.
Yeah. Well, it's well framed in the art due to the fact that you're not quite sure if that giant thing he has is a scythe or just one of those sticks that he uses to push the boat. Because he's so big and you like can't see, like you don't know if he's like actually like on a boat or what.
It has a hook on the end, but it could just be a pole with a hook to catch the dock. Hard to say.
It could be a scythe. It could be boat. It could be both. He also could just not be in a giant boat.
Yeah, he could just be standing in water.
It's on one hand well framed due to the fact that it's left everything just vague enough so you don't know what it is, and on the other hand, it's framed just badly enough that you have no idea what the fuck is going on other than just a big guy leaning over with a big stick.
Yeah. So, similar to Karen, Athreos requires a payment for your creatures to pass into the afterlife.
Someone else's payment.
Right. You don't have to pay because you're the one who died.
That makes sense because other people have to put the coin in your mouth.
Right. So, it's not your job to put the coin in your mouth. You're dead after all.
Yep.
It's someone else's job to make sure that you have a coin, or in this case, 3 life.
Yep. That would work.
That way, and if they don't pay that life, your creature just can't truly die.
Yeah.
He gets there, and Athreos says, no.
Get out of here.
And then he goes back to your hand. I'm sure there's flavor there somewhere.
If you look deep enough. I mean, he's the god of passage. He determines whether things come back or from the dead.
Right. He stands there and says,
you
shall not pass!
However, he is a greedy motherfucker, so if you pay him what he wants, you do want anyway.
Right. Now, there are a lot of ways to utilize his ability. The most commonly used are leaves the battlefield triggers.
Or sacrifice things like Ashnod's Altar, Mimnite, and Athreos make an infinite mana combo.
Provided your opponent decides not to pay 3 life.
That is true. But if you're like, alright, Ashnod's Altar, Mimnite, sack Mimnite for mana? Okay. I paid the 3 life. Cool. Play another Mimnite. Alright. Take the 3 mana. Sacrifice Mimnite. Get mana. Sacrifice Mimnite. Alright. Sacrifice Mimnite. Pay the 3 life. Ornithopter? Shit! I'm sure there's another you could play.
No, I've definitely considered doing this, where it's just ramp yourself into a huge amount of mana using 0-costed artifacts that you can just drop and then sacrifice on a loop, and then drop something ridiculous like Wormcoil Engine.
Yeah. Or get something like, I think there's some walls that cost 0.
There might be.
Well, there are walls that cost X. I know there's at least one that costs, I believe it's XX. So you can pay 0 and it'll die immediately.
Oh.
But your opponent still has to pay the 3 or you get it back.
You can just infinitely
cast it.
You can infinitely cast Hangerback Walker.
For 0.
You cast it for 0, it dies, it goes to the graveyard.
I'm just going to keep casting it until we either go to time or you concede. Or you keep paying the 3 life, or you pay the 3 life, my friend.
Just keep paying life. I'll eventually run out of 0-costed creatures.
Yep.
But no, if you're using Ashnod's Altar and Memnite, and you decide to drop in the Wormcoil Engine, because that only takes 6 mana.
Yeah.
Wormcoil Engine is a 6 mana artifact creature worm with Death Touch and Lifelink, which is huge. 6/6, it just kills them. However, it has an ability. When Wormcoil Engine dies, put a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Death Touch and a 3/3 colorless worm artifact creature token with Lifelink onto the battle. So it splits in half.
Yep.
Unless they
It's kind of like
my
Mitotic Slime in that aspect.
Yeah, it's very similar to Mitotic Slime. And you could use Mitotic Slime in much the same way.
That is true.
Unless your opponent takes 3 life, or pays 3 life, then you just can keep casting Wormcoil Engine whenever you can, and just keep getting multiple tokens.
Yeah, and your opponent just can't let you keep casting Wormcoil Engine. Wormcoil Engine's way too good.
And not that it matters, but if your opponent only has 2 life, they can't pay 3.
That is true.
But at that point, they've already lost.
Yeah, if you're continually casting Wormcoil Engine and they can't do anything about it,
right?
And they're at 2 life, they're probably going to.
Although, Wormcoil Engine and Ashnod's Altar, if they don't pay, you can just infinitely cast Wormcoil Engine.
Yes.
Two
Well,
colorless from the
yes,
worm
you
coil.
can. All right.
2 colorless from the tokens.
I was wondering, like,
It
what are you
gains you
talking about?
nothing. You gain nothing from doing this.
But what you can do is when you sacrifice the 2 tokens, they still also go to the graveyard and they still also trigger his ability,
Yes.
but then stop existing.
Right.
But the ability still resolves because it doesn't target or anything.
That's true.
So what'll happen is your opponent will have the option to pay the life or not, and if they do, they take 3 life. But they're obviously going to not to. But if you keep repeating Worm Coil Engine, as I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to keep doing this until you pay the life, or we go to time, my friend. It's up to you.
I think technically you could get a judge called on you for stalling the game.
Oh, yes, you can. This reminds me of Pokemon. It was called the Funbro strategy. And the whole point of the strategy was, it was originally a Slowbro. And you send out a Slowbro with Block, Heal Pulse, Recycle, and Slack Off.
Okay.
And the whole point was that you'd send out a Slowbro against something that can't really beat a Slowbro. And you're like, okay, use Block. Okay, so they can't leave. Alright. So they're gonna like smack you for like less than a quarter of your health because you're a Slowbro and you tanked them up. And you just tank some hits, you Slack Off, which will restore your health.
Right.
Okay. Keep tanking hits. They're blocked so they can't switch out.
Right.
They can't kill you. What do? Eventually they'll run out of PP.
And then
And they'll start using Struggle, doing even less damage, and do damage to themselves. Then the Slowbro would start using Heal Pulse, healing that Pokemon so it doesn't die. And the Slowbro won't ever run out of PP because it has, I think it's called a Lumberry, which once it eats that berry, it'll restore PP.
Right.
And then it'll use Recycle to get the berry back.
Oh my god.
And the whole point of the strategy is that you know the battle will not end. And so your opponent will just concede.
But how can they concede?
You can just concede. You do it on you can just concede games.
Oh, okay.
Like you just wait until your opponent can. I'm talking about like competitive. Like you don't do this against a computer.
Well, no, I didn't realize that, as having never really played competitive Pokemon, because
It's a big
that
deal.
requires friends and
Well, you can just play it all
time. But having never played competitive Pokemon, I didn't realize there was a concede button.
There is. Which makes sense. But yeah, like you can just make the battle last forever. And like they've had to introduce rules of it's a clause where you're not allowed to have infinite battle clauses.
No.
It is called a endless battle clause, and so you cannot have a setup in which that you cannot win nor lose.
So the next card I thought would be fun to play with Athreos isn't a combo piece with Athreos. It's just, it fits the same sort of flavor. Basically force your opponent to make difficult decisions.
Yeah, do things or pay life, which I do like the concept of because everyone's gonna pay them.
So Vectis Dominator is priced exactly the same as Athreos. For a 0/2, for an artifact creature human wizard, its ability reads tap target creature unless its controller pays 2 life. So your opponent's going to be like, well, I pay the 2 life because I don't want my creature tapped.
The funny part is I see it like, at the end of your turn, I activate Vectis Dominator to tap your creature unless you pay 2 life, and they'll be like, well, but I pay the life. What are you planning?
I like the idea of during your upkeep, after you've just untapped your creatures, Vectis Dominator.
Yeah. That thing, screw that thing.
Or, just because, why not, during the draw phase.
Yeah, I mean, you gain priority in the draw step.
Here, you draw, okay, here, I want to tap this. Do you pay the life?
Yes. But yeah, this is interesting. There's other...
And then your opponent has a hard time getting rid of it without paying more life. Because Athreos costs the same. You play this after you play Athreos.
Now, you don't want to play this before you play Athreos, because unless they kill it, then...
That's my concern.
That is
I
true.
would want Athreos out before
Yeah, but
this.
it's a 0. If they don't know about Athreos, they won't care. Like a 0/2 that taps something unless I pay 2 life.
Yeah, but I could see this shaping up to be a commander deck.
That is true.
So they're going to know about Athreos. Now, admittedly, this would make a very interesting, just 60-card deck. You can throw this and Athreos in the same deck, along with a few other things that give you that sort of theme. Then they don't see it coming, yeah.
Yeah.
Run Athreos as a 2 of.
Yeah, you want to run this first, so that way when you finally play Athreos...
Then they don't know it's coming.
Yeah, they're like, kill it.
Fun fact, this can't tap Athreos.
Well...
I mean, it could eventually, but...
Like, you can. You only need 3 more devotion to white or black.
Right, but it'll have a hard time tapping Athreos.
That is
because
true.
Athreos is not a creature at first.
But there are a lot of red cards that do a lot of things unless an opponent pays stuff.
Right.
Like the one that first comes to mind is Vexing Devil, which works really well with Athreos, other than the fact that you're running 3 colors. But whatever, 3 colors.
Yeah, 3 colors, not hard.
Vexing Devil works really, really well with Athreos, other than the fact that you're using 3 colors, as we've previously gone through.
But 1 mana for 7 damage.
Like, your opponent either lets you have a 4/3 for 1 mana, which is good, or your opponent takes the 4 damage, and then once it's in the graveyard, your opponent gets the option to take another 3 damage, or let it go back into your hand for you to cast it again.
This is a card I don't want to see until late in the game. Or to hold on to it until late in the game. Well after you've dropped Athreos and you've got a couple of red sources out and you can just do it again.
And it's like, surprise, like, oh no, stop.
Because, you could turn 1 Vexing Devil, and then they'll pay the 3 life, and then it'll be gone.
Yeah.
Or you could turn 4 Vexing Devil and get much more use out of it.
Like, it's more like, do I have a Vexing Devil in my opening hand? Yeah. I'm playing that turn 1. Because that's a Lightning Bolt turn 1. Like, I'm going to draw another Vexing Devil.
It's better than a it's better than a Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, it's essentially. Other than the fact that you can't turn it.
Still 1 more damage.
Yeah. I love Vexing Devil. Another card that is similar is, I think it's 2 red, like Browbeat, but that's like a sorcery.
Right.
But red also is just a lot of things.
So long as we're talking about getting the most out of cheap cards, Swarmborn Giant is 4 mana, 2 generic and 2 green for a 6/6. When you're dealt combat damage, sacrifice Swarmborn Giant. And it has Monstrosity 2 for 6 mana, but at this point, you're just paying 4 mana for a 6/6 and not caring if it dies.
Yeah, it's a 4/4 or 6/6 for 4 is really good.
Yeah. And if it dies, it deals half of it. It essentially deals half of its damage to your opponent,
or just comes back again next turn.
Right.
I mean, your opponent could keep swinging like 1/1s at it, or 1/1s at you, and you'd be like, all right, I block 1/1/1 or one of the 1/1s, my giant, and eat it. And I guess you get 1 in, he goes away, and I get it back. But
your opponent really has to work hard to get rid of this card because it's huge and it's cheap. And
one thing that really irritates me about this card is he's a giant, but he doesn't have reach.
He has reach if you give him Monstrosity.
Oh, I didn't read that bit. It was under the Monstrosity bit, and I just assumed.
Yeah, I stopped reading after Monstrosity in most cases.
Yeah, because there's just a big block of text behind Monstrosity.
Because it's 10 mana for an 8/8 with reach, which isn't as efficient as 4 mana for a 6/6 without reach.
Yeah. Fun fact about Monstrosity, now that I read it and think about it, like, Monstrosity is a keyword that has 2 keywords.
Yeah.
Monstrosity and monstrous.
Yep.
I mean, it's like, monstrous is like
it's a state of your card.
Yeah, it's a state of the card. Not really, because state is actually a different thing. It is something else. It's kind of like Renown. It's not a state.
I mean, it's also like Devoid. It becomes...
it's a marker ability.
Yeah. It becomes a... I don't even know how I don't know the word I want to use.
It starts with a D. Delimitation?
It becomes an aspect of the card?
Anyway. Whatever. It state, for all intents and purposes, works. It's just technically state is another thing in the rules.
Right. Yeah. You have state-based actions and whatnot.
Yeah, well, like, state also refers to, like, there's 4 states. They're tapped or untapped, phased in or phased out, flipped or unflipped, and transformed or face up or face down. And by flipped and unflipped, I mean, or whatever.
No, because manifest and morph are face up, face down.
Yes. Face up, face down, and the other one's, like, transform. But it's face up or face down or something like. There's another one. So, I need to brush up on this rule.
Let's talk Esper.
I love me some Esper.
I'm okay with Esper.
And since Athreos is blue, black, white, I'm assuming you're talking about blue.
I am.
Yeah.
I am talking about Glenalendra Archmaid. 4 mana, 3 generic and a blue for a fairy wizard. It's a 2/2 with flying. That's cool. Cool. She has persist, so whenever she goes to the graveyard, if she doesn't have a -1/-1 counter on her, you can put her back onto the battlefield. You do put her back onto the battlefield. It's not a may. But her extra ability makes her so great. Pay 1 blue, sacrifice Glenalendra Archmage, counter target non-creatures. So you get this twice just by herself.
Yep.
That's cool. However, because Athreos and Persist trigger upon a creature going from the graveyard to the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
They trigger at the same time. You can then decide what order they go on the stack.
That you do.
In the case of the creature having a -1/-1 counter on it, you want to order it so that Athreos goes on the stack first. Actually, it doesn't even matter. If the creature had a -1/-1 counter on it, you can have Persist resolve first and it does nothing. And then Athreos resolve, and unless your opponent pays, it goes back to your hand.
No, if it had a -1 counter on it, Persist wouldn't trigger because it has an intervening.
That is correct.
Nonetheless, I do like how this is both a non-bow and a combo with Athreos.
Yeah.
The first half the time it's a non-bow, but you're cool with that because it does its own thing. But the other half the time it combos.
Right. So if Athreos
Non-bow combo.
If Athreos triggers and the card is still in the graveyard, it goes back to your hand. If you're forcing your opponent to pay 3 life, or you're just going to keep countering their non-creature spells.
Yep.
I'd do this all day.
Yeah. I mean, there are better ways to constantly be countering your opponent's stuff that come to mind, but this is definitely one that works.
There's an ultimate Jace. Here, put that in the deck too.
That only counters the first spell.
Then wait until the second spell and do this.
I was referring to... That works too, unless it's a creature.
Then they're really playing hard.
That is true. Or you could run Deadeye Navigator and Mystic Snake.
Yeah.
I found that I accidentally ran that combo in one of my EDH decks. And accidentally found out that I could do that in mid-game. And accidentally pissed off 4 people at the same time. Because they couldn't do anything for the rest of the game. The problem with that game is I told them all, like, I'm not going to counter your stuff unless, like, it hinders me, like, directly. Like, if you're like, oh, well, I Doomblade your creature, I'm going to counter it.
Right.
If you swing at me, I'm going to do stuff and stop you. Unless you play, like, a creature that's really, really something like you play Omniscience. I'm sorry, man. Can't really have Omniscience.
I'm sorry, Dave.
But they're like, no, I have to keep casting, trying to kill your stuff. I'm like, or you could not. And then one day I'll slip up. And when I do, I'll field. But no, they didn't. I did slip up, though. And then I just won it. I had time to build my
Guys,
army.
I screwed up. Too late. Doesn't matter anymore.
I screwed up, but, well, I guess we're doing it live.
Now,
countering everyone's stuff is real.
Another particularly interesting interaction that Athreos has is with Manifest.
Mm-hmm.
So, take a card like Mastery of the Unseen. 2 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a permanent you control is turned face up, you gain 1 life for each creature you control. If you're playing it right, Athreos is keeping a lot of things alive. You can pay 4.
Or at least keeping things out of the graveyard.
Yeah. You can pay 3 and a white to manifest the top card of your library. Now, in order to manifest, you put the top card of your library onto the battlefield face down. It's a 2/2 creature. It's like Morph, but for the top card of your library, basically.
Yeah. It's like Morph, but literally anything.
And at any time, you can pay that card's mana cost in order to turn it face up, if it's a creature.
Yeah.
If it's not a creature, it has to stay face down. This is really useful with Athreos, because if they kill that manifested card, even if it's not a creature, so say you manifest another Mastery of the Unseen, when it goes to the graveyard, it is a creature. It is turned face up in the graveyard as a state-based action.
Well, it's not really turned face up. It goes to the graveyard.
And is face up.
Yeah.
So, when Athreos' ability resolves, it doesn't care that it's not a creature anymore.
Still the same object.
Exactly. So you can take, unless your opponent pays the 3 life, comes back to your hand, didn't need to be a creature.
Play it again.
So I really like how Manifest works with Athreos.
It does work pretty interesting. And there's also like plenty of things just like, oh, it becomes a creature until end of turn.
Oh yeah, if you awaken a land,
yeah,
you can get your lands back.
Yep. Awaken lands, just enchantments that turn into creatures.
Yeah. Man lands.
Yeah.
Just by themselves. That's interesting. If somebody tries to destroy a land and you can turn it into a creature before it's destroyed.
I'm trying to think of like how you do. I'm like, well, there's I think it's something that turns all forests into saplings. I mean, Lightning Elemental and cards similar to it, like Spark Elemental, work well with Athreos.
Yeah, because when they die, they can come back and you can keep rolling in with them.
Yeah, and like some of them, like...
And your opponent's really going to want to pay the 3 life in that case.
Yeah, because they're like, can't let you just swing at me again for the 6-1 next turn.
Yeah, but So, I think I've yammered on long enough. I think it might be time for me to get my comeuppance.
Yes, you should. I think everyone should get there. Fun fact, Comeuppance is my card for the day. So Comeuppance is a 4-mana instant. It is 3 and a white. And it says...
It's a wall of text.
It is a bunch of text. It's kind of like Animate Dead, with the exception of Animate Dead is super confusing.
Right.
Animate Dead is weird. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so it says, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you and planeswalkers you control this turn. By a source you don't control. Sorry, by sources you don't. So it's a fog effect already. That's good. And it covers your planeswalkers. Just important. If damage from a creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that creature. If damage from a non-creature source is prevented this way, Comeuppance deals that much damage to that source's controller.
So basically, in essence, it deals that much damage to the source of the damage you would be dealt.
Yeah, so whatever's trying to screw with you, you screw back.
Right. And since instants and sorceries are essentially you are the source,
yeah,
that comes back at you.
Yeah. It's like, I fireball you. It's like, Comeuppance.
I want to see this card when you just hardcast an Emrakul or Mindslaver your opponent, and then you cast Comeuppance at the beginning of their turn, and then you just burn all of their spells and attack with all of their creatures. You gain control of their turn. You gain control of them for their turn.
Okay.
You then use all of their spells to target you after casting Comeuppance.
Oh, okay.
And you attack with all of their creatures at you after casting Comeuppance.
Okay. I was really confused. I'm like, how does that work? You swing at them, and then you would just take all the damage when blocked because I'm not an idiot.
Right.
Yeah, I was just really
because
confused.
You're controlling their turn.
I was also thinking that you said, you take someone's turn, and then you cast your Comeuppance. It's like you're having them cast their Comeuppance.
No, you cast your Comeuppance.
Yeah. I had it backwards. I
Yeah.
thought you were having them cast theirs, not you cast yours.
Right, no, you cast yours at the beginning of their upkeep, and then you just start laying into yourself.
Yep. That would work. Start laying into yourself. Giggity.
Oh boy.
But yeah, that would work with Comeuppance. When I was reading this, I was thinking, if I were to make a deck, it would work better with a 60-card deck because Comeuppance is just an instant. Can't really make a commander deck out of an instant. Unless you, make it, in theme.
There are a lot of fog effects.
That is true. I mean, you can make a fog effect and Comeuppance can just be one of them.
Right.
But, I was thinking, I guess, if you were to make a deck around Comeuppance, you'd make it around the constant threat of not just a fog, but a fog like Comeuppance. A fog that'll fuck them up back.
Right. So something like... Divine Deflection.
Divine Deflection is perfect. Yeah, Divine Deflection is an instant, cost 1 white and X, prevent the next X damage that would be dealt to you, and or permanents you control.
So it also covers planeswalkers.
That is true.
And other stuff.
Yep.
Like any of your enchantments.
Or your creatures.
Well, I want to figure out a way to deal damage to an enchantment without it being a creature.
You're the third person who said that to me this past week.
It's a perfectly legitimate question.
That is true. It's just weird how it's 3 times this past week. I'm like...
It's just weird how it says prevent damage that would be dealt to you or permanents you control.
That is true. I wonder if the rules say so you can't just straight up say you can't deal damage to things that are creepy.
No. The rules are actually really good about not not saying you can't do things, but allowing you to do things.
Yeah. In order to deal damage to target.
You are allowed to cast a sorcery when the stack is empty on your turn. You're not restricted from casting a sorcery any other time. You're simply allowed to cast them when the stack is empty on your turn.
Okay, that's interesting. Nonetheless, prevent the next X damage to you and or a permanent you control. If damage is prevented this way, Divine Deflection deals that much damage to target creature or player.
Divine Deflection is a little bit more flexible than Comeuppance. It's just more aggressively costed.
Yeah, it's also harder to use to blow out.
Right, because it only hits one thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit whatever hits it.
Yeah, it doesn't hit every. But there's other good fog effects. One of my personal favorites is Acrogenesis or Arachnogenesis, which is the 2 and a green instant. Put X 1/2 green spider creature tokens onto the battlefield under your control, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn by non-spider creatures.
Which, if more spiders had Death Touch instead of Reach, would be awesome. But most spiders have Reach instead of Death Touch.
Is there a spider that gives other spiders Death Touch?
Don't call? I was working on building an Ishkana deck.
Spider deck, yeah, you mentioned.
And I don't recall one.
That's unfortunate.
One of the best spiders is not in Ishkana's colors at all, though. There's
it's
a
red-green.
Yeah.
Like Dragon Lair spider or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the best spider in all of Magic, and you can't Ishkana it.
Which is unfortunate.
And it's not legendary, so you can't
use it.
Commander it.
But, what you gonna do? Still, Arachnogenesis really good. Like, I swing 21 ones at you. I'm like, surprise. I swing in like 25 fives at you.
Right.
Like, haha, I put in 21-2 spiders.
Do they have Reach?
No.
No. Yes.
Oh, they do have Reach?
Because they're spiders. And apparently it's not a real spider if it doesn't have Reach. Why do spiders have Reach and not some giants? I don't understand this.
Well, they shoot webs up, and they leave webs up, and birds, like, fly into them. Have you not seen a spider eat a bird? They do. It's terrifying. They do.
There are things that can go above the trees.
That is true. And spiders can, like, shoot silk.
That's not how spiders work.
Yeah, they can. They can shoot silk. They can also, like, jump.
Fair enough.
Like especially, like, spiders in Magic aren't, like, little spiders. They're, like, big spiders like you see in horror movies. Like, spiders that are about the size of, like, a small dog and bigger.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, you can still block with those spiders and deal damage with them. You're like, alright, I get 20 creatures, I put 5 of them on these 4, and, like, they kill 4 of your dudes.
Right.
I mean, you still have a bunch of creatures. And I get a swing with spiders on my turn.
Now, if your opponent's also running spiders, then you've got a problem.
That is true. If your opponent responds to your Arachnogenesis with their own Arachnogenesis, you may be screwed.
But at that point, you just have a bunch of spiders glaring at one another.
No, because
they're
because
1/2s.
Yeah, but it's also well, then whoever would be blocking would win because they just double up. They double block on each one, and they would just take out. It would half and half. Like, I will take out half your spiders, and you won't take out any.
Right. But you will deal me half the damage.
Yeah. So, I think another...
I like the idea of just making your opponent swing at you.
Yeah, like, force them.
Just make it happen.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to sit there and be like, I don't want to attack this guy. I don't want to get my comeuppance.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not that many ways to do it.
There's not. And it makes me a little bit sad, but there is at least one.
Yes, there is Biden of Thassa, which is the first time we're talking about one of God's equipments that isn't the Whip of Erebos. It's the Biden of Thassa.
There are only 2 that are worth anything, and this is the other one.
The bow is decent. The whip is far better than every other one.
Yeah.
The Spear of Heliod's actually really good.
It's okay.
It's only good in certain decks, but like...
Whereas the Bident and the Whip are good whenever?
The Bident is good in a blue deck. Like, it's kind of good for kind of like a really weird control kind of situation thing.
Well, clearly it's good in a blue deck because it's blue.
Yeah.
But you could run this in an aggro deck and just have so much card advantage.
That is true. Yeah. Like, the Bident is just really good. It's not quite as good as the Whip, and the Spear is really good because, if my memory is correct, it gives them +1/+1 in Vigilance?
I think so.
Maybe he gives Vigilance? I don't know. But like the Spear gives, I know it at least gives +1/+1 and does like another thing.
Oh, it does something to a creature that dealt damage to you this turn.
Yeah, it's essentially
just... You pay mana and it destroys a creature that dealt you damage.
That's it. But yeah, like...
Which would, I guess, fit this theme.
Yeah?
Actually, no, it wouldn't, because if you prevent the damage, then the Spear doesn't work.
That is true, but just the whole point of this deck is not... Because you can't constantly prevent the damage.
Right.
Like, there'll be a point where you can't, so you want to play mind games.
You want to dissuade them from dealing you damage.
You want them to go, alright, I shouldn't swing at him for these reasons, or I'll get my comeuppance. I should wait and have someone else swing at him, and they'll get their comeuppance.
Right.
But like, yeah, there's Biden, who... The first ability is whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Whatever. Not really important for this deck. The important ability for this deck is pay 1 into blue, tap it, creatures your opponents control attack you this turn of Fable.
Attack this turn of Fable.
Oh, that is attack, not attack you. Attack. So if you're in a multiplayer game, this works less
Right, because then they're just gonna be like, I have to attack, but can I attack you? Because I don't want to deal with him.
I don't want my comeuppance because I've got like 21 ones. Or like if they have something like a whole bunch of 0-1 goats.
Right.
Like, I can't swing goats because she'll kill them somehow. They won't do any
I
damage.
will attack all of the goats, and you will have all of the spiders, and I don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, that would work. But yeah, other than Biden of Thassa making things attack, the only other way I can think of is the ability from Conspiracy Goad.
Right. Which
only
works to your advantage in a single player game.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a thing attack, which is kind of annoying. Oh, I forgot about Deflecting Palm. I was supposed to mention Deflecting Palm to talk about fogs. I will talk about it now and then get back on Goad.
Okay.
Deflecting Palm is 1 red and 1 white.
Yeah.
The next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If damage is prevented this way, Deflecting Palm deals that much damage to that source's controller.
The only thing I want to point out about this particular card is it has some disturbing art. It's got the most disturbing art I've seen on a white card.
On a white card, yeah, maybe. But it's just some guy punching a chick and she just talked to the hand in it.
His bones are popping out of his fingers.
Are you serious? What? Oh my god. Holy shit. I did not notice that.
Yeah.
That is brutal. And I just didn't notice.
This card makes me flinch.
Yeah, that hurts. And I love how just like completely nonchalantly she does it. She's like, whatever, man. Bam.
Yeah, that's why I say it's got the most disturbing art I've ever seen on a white card.
That's a cool trick. And I'm trying to think, like, is this Mardu or is this Jessica?
Probably Mardu.
I would think Jessica. Because it's, like, defensive and, like, it's kind of like a monk thing, like the whole, like, palm thing.
Yeah, okay.
It's like a monk thing. But, like, it's both red and white, so it's, like, probably both. It's probably a Mardu guy throwing the punch and a Jeskai person deflecting it.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But, yeah, could be. A whole bunch of things. I like deflecting punch. So, back to Goad. I sent the entire list of all the creatures that go. There's only like 5, and almost all of them are when they enter the battlefield,
except for 1.
Yeah, which is Grinzo. Would you like to read your plus?
Grinzo, Havoc Razor, 2 red mana for a legendary creature, Goblin Rogue. It's a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose 1. Goad target creature that player controls, or exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast. I probably read that way too quietly, seeing as how I was facing away from them.
Whatever. Would you like to read it again?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so he goads every turn if you get him through. But that's
it's not just him, it's any creature.
That is true. If you get a creature through every turn, and if if everything your opponent has is constantly attacking,
right? Then...
if able to, which is actually alright. I play a 5/5. He's got summoning.
My deck is made of walls.
Oh yeah, like they can't attack. It's like crap. I can get through to you. Well, even then, like if they have walls and they can't attack anyway, you're not really worried about goading them because a wall can't attack.
Right. It can block though.
Yep. But yeah, like you can, like he's the only thing that can goad something every turn, or at least more than once.
Yeah.
I really want a creature that's like just pay 2 tap, goad target.
Right.
Which would be like, I guess, strictly worse than Biden of Thassa, but still, thought that counts.
So I see on your list you have Gisela, which is an interesting choice.
The original Gisela.
Right.
Yeah.
The one that is scary.
Yeah. Well, I looked at her because...
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking
good.
of a different card. The one that doubles all the damage dealt to you and did.
She doubles the amount of damage you do and halves all the damage anything to you.
And that's just solid. Admittedly, she's 7 mana.
Yep.
So that gets a little bit hard to cast.
It kind of doesn't work with Comeuppance, but does at the same time.
It's yet another discouraging factor.
Though it's another discouraging factor, but I'm referring to like, all right, I swing at you. All right. No, because the way you'd set up the replacement effects, Gisela wouldn't happen.
Right.
So that, like, if they, I was thinking like, oh, well, it would have the damage because Gisela, then Comeuppance would happen dealing the half damage to them,
nope,
but it'd be doubled because Gisela would kick in and double it again. So it'd just be the same. It wouldn't do anything to Comeuppance in the long run. But
it actually would.
It does because the replacement effect, the way you can just work with replacement effects.
So you're preventing the damage, so Gisella's ability never happens until the flip of Comeuppance happens, and then it doubles it.
Yes and no. It kind of would, and it kind of wouldn't. Like, both of the replacement effects would, like, want to go to replace it, and you'd essentially choose which one applies first. So you choose, okay, well, I choose that Comeuppance would apply first, and it would apply first, and then, like, Gazella's would look at it as like, oh, it's not dealing damage to you anymore, so I'll just ignore it.
Right.
So, like, it'll go to do it, and then just stop, because it's kind of like the stack. It's like its own mini stack in the stack.
Right. Now, see, the card that I would want to play along with Comeuppance, and it's sort of similar to Gazella, but maybe not quite as useful with Comeuppance, I would want to play Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts, as a way to dissuade them from attacking.
That would also work. I didn't think of that one.
Because if they attack you, they just lose that creature.
Yeah. And you get a spirit.
Essentially,
you get that. They get their creature in Ghost.
As a 1/1.
Yeah, it's a piece of shit because it's just a ghost. But
I'm a ghost.
Use rocks to trap the ghosts.
But I would run Teysa in this. Just because.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're both 7 drops, so...
Instead of the... I would go with the black instead of the red in this instance.
And she has pro creatures, so she would block the big one.
Right. And always get through.
Yeah, it works as a deterrent, but doesn't work with Comeuppance, because if you have her on the field, she kind of turns Comeuppance off.
No, she doesn't.
Unless, if they like, burn you or something like that. But creature-wise, Comeuppance can't do anything.
No, Comeuppance would prevent the damage, so her ability wouldn't work. It works just like Gisela. Her ability is Teysa's ability is a triggered ability.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you prevent the damage, they won't do damage, and then they won't get destroyed.
Right. But Comeuppance will kill them anyway.
Oh yeah, you're right. Well, assuming that their power is equal or greater than
let us make this assumption, because Magic is full of uneven creatures.
But
so
yeah, as I was saying, like, her ability doesn't. You're right. She doesn't turn off Comeuppance, but Comeuppance, when you use Comeuppance, it turns her off.
Right.
Temporary. So yeah, I said that wrong. You were right. Which is, now that I think about it, probably a way better deterrent than the deterrent I was thinking of, which I was thinking more of in multiplayer terms.
And
go ahead.
I'm wondering, though, if her second ability happens.
Wait, whenever a creature deals damage to you, no, because they wouldn't deal damage. This ability would never trigger.
Yes, that works. You are correct.
All right. But the best deterrent card I was thinking would be Edrix by Master of Trust. He is also a diplomacy card, which is the whole point of the deck that we are loosely building, which we've mentioned literally all 5 colors now that I mentioned Edric, who is both blue and green.
Right, and I mentioned black, so they're... Yeah.
Yeah, with Teysa, and I mentioned red. So yeah, we've mentioned all the colors.
So at this point, it's not a deck that we are constructing, it's a choose your own adventure game.
Yeah, like, here's some friendly advice. If you're going on this super weird adventure with us,
you gotta have white, but after that, it's up to you.
Yeah, but the best, like, deterrent to, like, it's a diplomacy card, is Edrix by Master of Trust. He is a 3-drop and legendary creature. Elf Rogue.
Aha.
1, a green and a blue. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card.
This counts you.
Yes, it does. However, it's always your opponent's, so it's not like the creature who's an opponent of the controller who swung the creature.
So it just
always yours.
It encourages your opponents to attack each other.
Yes, it does.
All the time,
well,
forever.
If I can get in there for 1, I get a draw card. Unless if I don't swing it, the guy who owns the so I'm going to not swing at the guy with the draw a card. And they get all mad at each other, because, like, one guy's going to swing for a card, and then this guy who got hit is going to be all pissy.
He's going to swing in for trying to get 2
at me
cards.
For 1, and I'm going to swing him for 2, because screw that guy. And the third guy's going to be like, yeah, screw that guy, and go at him too, because now it's 2-on-1.
And you sit there with your fingers tapping together.
You're like, guys, no, don't be so violent.
No, wait, stop.
No, wait, no. What am I going to do? So that was why I brought up Comeuppance, because 1 is kind of a cool card, but I couldn't think of really a deck or a bunch of cards that would work super well. So I'm like, I had the idea of, like, well, I could potentially build a deck out of deterrents.
Yeah,
just
and
like
deterrents and fog effects.
Yeah, it's kind of like turtle up decks.
Right.
You just turtle up and no one can swing at you, or you can just, like, make it so people can swing at other people. I mean, I guess you could run like propaganda
Or riot control.
Like, yeah, riot control. So that you just gain life. Things like Norn Annex and Ghostly Prison, so people literally can't swing at you. Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So like, well, I have to swing, so I have to pay it if I have the mana for it.
No. You do not have... Unless the mana is in your mana pool, you do not have to tap the lands. So your creatures can't attack.
You're right. I spaced on that.
Yeah.
But
now,
stuff
if you could
like,
somehow force your opponents to tap their lands for mana...
You know, like, if I want to attack, I have to swing at someone else.
Right.
And I'm kind of forced to attack with the Biden. Yeah, well, no, I was thinking right. If you have Biden and you use Biden's ability,
right,
all the creatures have to attack. So they have to swing. And if they have to go at an opponent, or dump all their mana into attacking you, if you have, like, a propaganda out.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you have out propaganda or you have out Ghostly Prison,
yeah,
and they have no mana in their mana pool,
yeah,
they are not forced to tap out.
Yes, you are right.
So they can just say, my creatures can't attack. I have no mana that I can pay to make them attack you.
Yeah. I was referring to if you used Biden.
Right.
If they have opponents they can swing at, they can. If they don't have opponents to swing at, they have to attack you. And so they still have to pay all their mana.
Any mana that is floating in their mana pool.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get across here.
Yeah.
If they have opponents, then yes, they have to attack one of your opponents.
Once it's just you, like, they can't swing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, they can choose to pay the mana, but they do not have to pay the mana.
Yeah.
And then, at that point, it treats it as if they cannot attack.
Yeah. And so, yeah. See, I really like this because this brought me back, this, like, made me think of before I started actually playing EDH, one of the first EDH decks I thought of and wanted to make was an Avacyn EDH.
Right.
And no, I don't mean the good Avacyn. I don't mean the other good Avacyn either. I mean the bad Avacyn. Pull her up. I know she's up there somewhere. Like, I may actually talk about this Avacyn as a card, probably next week. I'll just do it because I really like this Avacyn because she's...
But this week is white.
Yeah, that's what I meant next cycle.
Next
week.
cycle? Yeah.
But the next time we get to white, I'll probably talk about this card more in detail. But Avacyn Guardian Angel was printed in M15 because...
Why not?
Yeah. It was like one of the things I miss about core sets is they just printed random cards because they're core sets. Like, whatever, I don't care.
It was a great way to revisit old planes without actually going back to the old planes.
Or like revisit old things.
Yeah.
Just like anything, and Avacyn was one of them.
Because no one ever wanted to reprint Snapcaster Maging.
Yeah. Avacyn Guardian Angel costs 3 white and 2 colorless. Not a big fan of the arts, with the fact that, like, you can't really see her all that well.
Yeah, no, there's just a big glowy stick.
Yeah, and it's just like a person holding it who has wings and arms. The thing about Avacyn is she's like, yeah, she's white, but she's got like a lot of like black on her.
Right.
Just like she is essentially a goth angel.
Because she's from, like a gothic horror set.
Yeah, and was made by a vampire.
That'll give you an identity crisis.
Yeah, even though she is as white can be. Until eventually she got red. Anyway, she is legendary creature angel, flying vigilance, and a strictly worse ability than the one she had at Innistrad, but very different and very... She has pay 1 and a white, prevent all damage that would be dealt to another target creature this turn by sources of the color of your choice.
It's oddly specific.
Yeah, it's like that thing doesn't get damaged by this color this turn. Or pay 7 mana lot.
Right, yeah.
Prevent all damage that would be dealt to target player this turn by sources of the color of your choice.
That's a lot of mana to do not a lot.
I mean, essentially, once you get, like, you play her for 5, and once you get to 7 mana, if they're one color and don't have, like, instant or sorceries, you essentially lock them down.
Yeah.
It's like I swing at you for 400, just like I fog me every single turn. Like, and, like, I can't, it's a lot of mana and not that good of ability. But it is actually kind of that good an ability.
It's better in an EDH deck, that's for sure. Because getting to 7 mana in an EDH deck is not hard.
That is true. Well, if you go green-white.
I mean, you can get there with something like Soul Ring.
That is true.
Any of the dual lands, the bounce lands.
Yeah.
You can get there.
You can get there. It's a little less... It's actually not that good in EDH due to the fact that EDH is so power-heavy. That it's actually very rare that someone's going to swing out.
Right.
Most likely, like, you're going to...
But very often there, and because
That's true.
The thing about EDH is they have to be in a specific range of colors, so you can lock down huge chunks of their deck.
Yeah, it's just like that. That's 90% red. Red is screwed. It's like, I can't do stuff with goblins. It's like, oh yeah, well I sack them all to deal damage with this instant. Wait, that also doesn't.
Right.
But the black deck is like, alright, you lose 30 life. Oh.
Huzzah.
Oh no. Crap, you got me. But still, like, this is like back when like I didn't play much EDH, and that was the concept.
Right.
Like, I'd get out some angels, and then it's like, Avacyn. Alright, what do you do with Avacyn? I don't let you kill me. Ever.
That means I win, right?
Yeah. It's like, okay. And then they kill everyone else, and they're like, alright, I Doomblade Avacyn. Crap, she's not indestructible. She's not even indestructible like her better half.
Who's
Better
only
third,
indestructible like half the time.
Yeah. What? No. The original Avacyn was always indestructible.
Oh, the new Avacyn is only indestructible.
Yeah, she is... No, I think she's No, she's destructible.
She is destructible.
She has an enters the battlefield ability that gives all creatures you control indestructible.
Right.
And people can respond to that and kill.
Right.
So yeah. Nonetheless, she is by far the worst Avacyn in every regard.
Yeah.
But Comeuppance would have really worked in that deck, because we're like, you only have 6 mana, you can't activate ability, oh no, what am I gonna do? Swing out with 405 goblins, Comeuppance,
Goodbye!
screw you. No.
Kill all the goblins.
Stuff like that. Or like, and I put like 50 of it into one of your random planeswalkers, like dead. Crap. Makes me...
Alright.
Unfortunately, I never actually got anyone. And I'm done with Comeuppance, by the way. Thank you for listening to Pick a Card, Any Card. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or card suggestion, you can email us at
pacac.cast@gmail.com.
or you can leave them in the comments below.
Thank you.
Or you can correct us, because we are often wrong in this podcast.